I guess as the questions were coming up right before we got up here about how communication is changing a little bit, advertising is changing, and before I give the introduction, I think I just want to get into my first question because it is coming from, I guess, a slightly digital savvy audience. Myself was looking at Michael Douglas hold a Motorola phone in Wall Street was kind of really cool, and then watching Shah Rukh Khan flip a Moto Razr in Dawn was even cooler. So looking at the fact that Motorola has been in this business since so many decades and decades and decades, and marketing has changed, the digital age is new. How has Motorola kept up with these changing trends in marketing?
Thanks. Hello. Sorry. Thanks, Amir. Thanks for the question. And a very interesting opening. I think Motorola as a brand has definitely been iconic and has been so for many decades. I mean, today we are a 95-year-old plus brand overall. It's been so many decades, and not just that. I mean, if you look at the world of phones, right? Actually, 50 years back. So in 1973, Martin Cooper from Motorola created the first phone and made the first mobile phone call with Dynatac. And this year in April, we celebrated 50 years of the first mobile phone call. So yes, it's been an incredible journey for the brand, and we've seen many decades where we've evolved as a brand, and not just from that, from a smartphone industry perspective, which came into the mid 2000s. It's been actually 2 decades plus with the smartphone industry as well. So it's been absolutely roller coaster ride. And as you know, for a brand that exists for such a long time, it's very difficult to call out specific trends or specific aspects of marketing because it's not just marketing that will help the brand sustain itself for such a long period of time. I think it's a combination of business model, it's a combination of product innovation, it's a combination of supply chain efficiencies, as well as marketing. So everything in combination, I think, is what takes the brand and makes it sustain for such a long period of time. I think you asked me very specifically what has allowed us to stay relevant to the consumers for such a long period of time. And I think here I would like to take a step back and not just talk about maybe specific marketing strategies, but specific attitudes or specific, abilities of a brand that allow it to stay relevant for such a long period of time. I think first and foremost, I would like to say it's the aspect of being agile or being open to change. I think that's very important because the world over decades has changed so much, and as you would have seen, I mean, it changes at different pace, right? I mean, there was a time when there were incremental changes. There was a time when there were exponential changes, right? So I think it's about, first of all, being open to change. The brands in the smartphone world who were not open to, so for example, the touch screen, they did not see the touch screen coming. They lost out, right? There were brands who possibly did not latch on to the Android revolution, right? So for example, I mean, these are some examples of brands maybe not being open to change. So I think agility, being open to change, is very important. The second aspect that I would like to say is, agility, right? So flexibility is one. Second is agility. How quickly can you actually implement those changes, right? So, I mean, even if you recognize a new trend and you want to enter it, but for example, if you launch a 4G phone at 20,000 rupees today, it's not going to sell. You're late to the market. So you have to be agile enough. First of all, you have to be open to change, identify the trends, be open to it, adapt them, and then be agile enough to launch those products or launch those innovations early. The third thing I would say is still being true to its core or being consistent with what you are as a brand, right? I think with Motorola, for example, innovation has been key to Motorola's success. Innovation has been core to the DNA. So if you look at our history, while I spoke about 50 years back when we created the first mobile phone call, we've also been the first ones, and a lot of people don't know this, but we've been the first ones in 2019 to make the first 5G phone call in the world. We've been the first ones to create the first foldable screen phone again in the world before many other brands. And we are consistently, challenging the status quo and doing things which continue to create aspiration for the consumers. So for example, if you talk about some of the latest innovations that we've showcased, these are not actually produced phones, but these are concept phones. We are the ones to showcase the first rollable concept phone in the world. And most recently, we've showcased the first bendable smartphone concept as well in the world. So I think being true to the core, that innovation is at the core of what the brand stands for, and we've stayed true to it. From a marketing perspective, I think again staying true to the youthful, youthful persona of the brand, the Hello Moto, the Moto gestures, the iconic Hello Moto is something that we don't think needs to be reimagined. So staying true to the core and retaining things that people identify with and people associate with. And last but not the least, finding ways to differentiate in a very, very cluttered market environment. And I think that continues to change over a period of time, right? So I can't talk about what was the differentiating factor in every decade, but for example, right now, if you talk about the market right now, we are differentiating ourselves through not just hardware. We speak about differentiating ourselves beyond hardware, right? And how are we doing that? We are differentiating ourselves with respect to design, color, material, finish. We have done a global partnership with Pantone, where in the smartphone industry, which is filled with specifications and megapixels and MAH and different aspects, we are also talking about design being key. And as premiumization is happening in the industry, we see a lot of Indian consumers also, and globally also, but specifically in India, we see a lot of Indian consumers looking at design as one of the key reasons to buy a smartphone. Some of the thinnest, lightest, most colorful, beautiful finishes that we are providing on our phones. And secondly, the software experiences. Again, something that a lot of people are not talking about, security, privacy, and various other features that are creating differentiation. So I think, just to summarize, I know it was a long answer, and the question itself was very elaborate because you spoke about the legacy of a brand which is 90 years old, but I hope I've been able to summarize this at a top level in the 4 key things that I feel is required for a brand to stay relevant for a long period of time. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good we kept the legacy to the devices itself, because Motorola made the first chips that went into computers, right? And yeah, shifting gears to computers, of course, the man Michael Dell came up and said, I'm going to name a company after myself. And it's been such a great success. And if you look at the Indian market out here, Dell has a fantastic portfolio of laptops, right? You have something from the Inspiron, which is for the everyday user, to the XPS, who wants something that's thin, light, powerful, at the top of the line. You have the widest variety also for gamers, from the G series for the everyday gamer, price-conscious gamer, to the Alienware who wants the best of the style statements. And how would you communicate the right features for the right audience, or the right device for the right audience when someone's researching or looking to buy their next laptop?
Yeah, that's a great one, Samir. So yes, we have, first of all, let's talk about the Indian audience, right? And when we talk about India, where we have 70% of our consumers less than 35 years of age, and different needs for all of them, right? Whether we talk from a school student, college student, gamers, whether you talk from the everyday needs or being creators or being a gamer, at the same time, I think laptop is not a luxury anymore, right? It's a necessity. It's there in everybody's life. And when we look at especially the youth today, I think we are all very proud to see that how the youth is not only concentrating on their studies and taking help of technology, because for us, we at Dell, we always, technology is for human progress, right? We keep that in mind behind anything we do. So today's children, when we look at, it's not only studies, right? It's all the passion. Now, it's great to see that how they are actually taking out time to do the various other interests in life they have got, and how at Dell we have got different offerings for them. Whether we talk from Inspiron range to XPS or G series or Alienware, catering to the needs of the students, whether they are into, say, video making, photography, their daily work, or being a creator or a gamer, it is there for them. And when we talk about the content, we just as a brand, it's not only as a brand, right, as a marketer, all of us, we need to make sure that the consumers get the right information wherever they're looking for. I think that's our job, right? It's not just saying that, okay, let me push my brand. Yes, we all do that. But at the end of the day, as a marketer, I think there is so much of information everywhere, but how do we make sure they get the right information, what they are looking for, and customize for them? So different platforms, and I think we will discuss more in details, but there are so many platforms where they go to, whether they, and especially in India, right, it's not just buying online, or they go to retail and buy it, but the research is done all across. Whether we talk from a Google search to Amazon search to YouTube search, for the small things we buy, right, even if it's like a 300, 400 rupees thing, right, we go to YouTube and search it. Like we want to see a video, what is somebody saying? I think as a brand or as marketeers, it's our responsibility to make sure that the right content for the right product is there for the right customer. And so that they make the right choices. They should be happy no matter what they buy. We all are, multiple brands are there, different products, and or we can say the similar kind of products in similar kind of price bands, right? But what suits them is something I think we should help.
Absolutely. It's very interesting how you focus more on YouTube as a space for people to search rather than Googling it, because while people are reading a lot more, I mean, as a publisher, we know how many people come and read, but we also know how many people come and watch on YouTube, and it's a fantastic place to be where you can't actually touch and feel the device, but you get a virtual touching and feeling of it through someone else's experience. So now a question for the audience out here is, how many of you have flipped a coin to make a decision? Just one person. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Like, don't lie, come on. I need more hands up. None of you have flipped a coin to make a decision. Okay, a few more hands. How many of you, in that case now, have flipped a coin to make a life-changing decision? Okay, one person. I don't want to know what it is. Two people, okay. Well, we have a representative here who, from a brand, it could have been called Packard Hewlett, but it was called Hewlett Packard because of a coin flip. And yeah, okay, I hope that rejigged your interest in our conversation. But no, it's very interesting because HP has a very strong position in the Indian market when it comes to the, it's one of the oldest brands in the laptop space to have entered the Indian territory and has held on to that dominance especially quite well. Just like Dell, HP is also offering such a wide portfolio of laptop offerings. But what I want to know specifically from HP is, what will be your focused category going forward? Would you look at the thin and light space, the entry-level space, the gaming space? What is HP's focus when it comes to the consumer space?
So yeah, thanks Samir for that one. You're absolutely right. HP is a legacy brand in this space. India, of course, they happen to be the market leaders. To your question, what I tell you is that these aren't mutually exclusive, right? Firstly, of course, the industry is shaped by our consumer, right? The needs of our consumer, what they're looking for in technology from tomorrow, right? Gamers want gaming on the go. So who says gaming won't get thinner, lighter, right? The next million users are going to come from tier 3, tier 4 cities. So, entry level or our Make in India portfolio becomes important there, right? Well, we bring in customized solutions where HP has a strong roadmap of what they would be looking for, because they're getting initiated into technology, and technology for them is a solution. Technology for them isn't hardware. All our market research says that what they're expecting from a brand is to solve for what they want. If that solve is a career aspiration, if the solve is for education, then that's what technology needs to do. They're not interested in your hardware, right? And therefore, it's a customized solution which talks to that customer very, very differently, right? Gaming, of course, has seen explosive growth in the last few years, because we all know all kids game. We may call them in different categories. Some are called casual, some are called enthusiast gamers, but it's becoming a big use case. So I think there are 3 ways we bring in customers into the industry, right? One is the new user, which is basically who enters, and that's what is referenced to by entry level, who I said, HP would have a product roadmap for. The second is a new use case. Gaming, creation, video editing, YouTubing, these weren't use cases which were there 10 years ago, and they identify a certain consumer for whom our device is therefore important, right? And the third is new usership. So what I mean by that is, parents in a household who have a laptop, know what it's about, now want to give it to a child who's a student, but it's not a new device. You don't have to educate the customer over its utility. So these are the three sort of segments through which the customer enters this industry. And obviously, because HP is an across the spectrum player, we cater with different solutions to all of them. But they drive where we play and to what extent we play versus saying us just having one kind of market, this thing that we work with, because, having almost a 40% market share and leading across all segments, it becomes important that we look at a very solution-focused approach versus a single, kind of approach, yeah.
So on the personal front, a new handheld gaming device to compete with the Asuses and the Lenovos of the world is on the cards at some point. Yeah. Last but not least, for Anuj, it's actually a very unique situation. This is a story I've stolen from Reddit, is, the parts of the body were talking to themselves, and the legs were like, I carry you everywhere, and the lungs were like, I put fresh air throughout your body, and then very silently the heart stops beating for a second, and then all the organs realize that, hey, we need the heart. And just like that, MediaTek is at the heart of some of the best products we've seen, especially this year, And going forward, you have a fantastic portfolio of chips for next year as well, with some incredible technology. And how do you communicate that technology, which is at the heart of these devices, that the people really don't see or touch, they actually experience it. So that communication, especially when your chips span all price ranges of devices. So what is the communication that MediaTek uses that this is the chip of choice for you?
Hello, hi, thanks Samir. Looks like heart is really, really important for us, right? So, if it had MediaTek chip inside, it might be working great for all of us here, Yes, so at MediaTek, we do power 2 billion devices, and, be it your smartphones, your Android devices, be it your smart TVs, be it your assistant devices, Chromebooks and whatnot, all right. I'm sure, most of the people would be using some of the MediaTek device at their homes, offices, and all around, right? And of course, friends out here, yes, as you all understand, heart is important. And that's how you rightly said, for end consumer, it is becoming very, very important today, right? To understand what kind of technology is being powered, at the back of the products, what they're using. So at MediaTek, we always believe, and that's something very interesting which we have seen in markets like India, wherein, end consumer, they're always, caring about, what is it, inside the device, what kind of speeds are there, what kind of memories are there, right? Is it an octa-core, will it, what kind of GPU is there, right? So it is becoming really, really important for a brand like MediaTek also to educate, to bring right kind of content, for an end consumer, so as he or she can make a right kind of a decision, when they are doing any kind of buying, in any of these categories, right? So yes, so we have seen the change, in a lot of trends happening, right? Of course, before I jump onto that, there is always one person in the family, and I think we were also talking about it, right? Who is always always becoming like an influencer there, right? Kaunsa phone lena, right? Like I get a lot of calls from my friends and family, because they know it's MediaTek, right? Final decision kya lena, right? But at the same time, it is really, really important for us to educate, to bring right kind of information. So as, even, OEMs also, when they are designing their products, right, they should also be knowing very well, right, what kind of, technology, what segmentation, they would like to invest into, right? If at all I may call upon for the smartphones, right, we have a complete range of smartphone solutions, from the flagship to the premium to the, entry-level segment and all. So yes, so it is very, very important for us also, and we are utilizing various marketing tools, right, to educate, to promote our content, be it the social media, of course, content management, and I must add, that as we all understand that these users are the ones, right, those spend a lot of time on online as well, right? So to catering to that particular segment, so we have our stores, e-commerce stores, and we also have a very interesting store at 91 Mobile, right? Which is certainly directly helping a lot of people to reach out, to educate, what's the core of technology, right? As an example, not only from online to offline stores, even a chipset company like MediaTek, we are always evolving and coming out with the plans, we are working on the plans wherein we are educating retailers, This is how it is becoming now, right? The retailers, when they know, so they are able to influence, and educate to the consumer with the right kind of technology, which is powering those devices. And we have seen a lot of change in trend, that these retailers, they want to understand about technology, So that's one new program which we did, and it's working very well for us as a chipset company, I mean, sometimes it's like, you can't see the chipset, right? But, like you said, right, heart is really, really important, which is backing the technology. So on and so forth. Yes, I think it has to be more of innovation. We also came out with a program which is called as demystifying technologies, and reaching out to common masses, So as again, if at all the tech is being told in a rightful manner, in a very basic manner, then again it helps anybody to decide on what is it they are looking forward for. We talked about gaming, right? Gaming is so important, right? So at MediaTek, we also understood the importance of gaming. That's when we have also added a technology which is called as MediaTek Hyper Engine technology, which is helping for gamers, with a better quality of gaming experience, right, with the phones, right. So you have to keep on educating them, using various kind of opportunities and channels, right, available from marketing point of view. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you put it quite correctly, is when you've partnered with your e-com partners, because that's more of a big open platform, and when you've partnered with a platform like ours, we're very focused and we know we have the audience that's coming in to do their research before they're buying, and how we've helped change their intent to move towards, let's say, a MediaTek device, right? And recently we also did something offline where we got everyone together to come and experience these devices and, kind of do their best to touch the heart, so to speak. So keeping in the same vein, my next question, Anuj, is on the lines of different form factors, right? Like we've seen MediaTek power a foldable phone, a flip phone, televisions. I'm sure everyone here who has an Alexa speaker or a Fire TV stick may not know that it's actually a MediaTek chip at the heart of these two devices. So how would you use a platform like content marketing to let people know that, hey, this is a MediaTek chip in here and this is, what it can do for you?
Firstly, the chips are becoming very smart day by day, and because technology and is the key focus, right? Like I said, and that's when innovation comes to the practice here, right? You talk about flips, you talk about folds, you talk about tabs, you talk about different form factors, right? So we are always innovating the chips in the manner so as the best optimization can be done when we are working very closely with the OEM partners around us, right? Yes, so we ensure that even if at all, I give an example of the technology which is 4 nanometer, right? So if as the chip is becoming smaller in size, right, it is becoming more efficient, and that's wherein a lot of R&D goes into it, right? When we are bringing best of the technology. So when a form factor will become like a foldable or a flip phone, right? You need to optimize the complete power management in the device. So we are ensuring, and we are always working continuously to bring that kind of tech for the end user, and of course to educate end consumer again to make a right kind of decision, is that we are utilizing a lot of different media channels, media avenues, right, to educate them. For instance, last month we participated at India Mobile Congress, right? So one of the forums, and of course these global forums, they give a great platform to all of us, to all the partners, to all of us, right, to showcase the right strengths of the product, right? Again, that's one example of it, right? So different programs which we are running, in terms of bringing the right kind of content, so I think the education is the key here, right? While the trainer kind of programs, what we are doing, right? Wherein the importance of technology is being added, and that's when, end consumer again gets to know about, what is the importance of that particular tech, right? Which is being, which they are using and enjoying, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Coming to a brand like HP, right? Again, a chipset like maker like Intel and AMD are there who partner with you guys. So how important is that partnership with Intel and AMD? Because there's only limited SKUs that you can push out, right? You got to partner with them. Keeping in the same vein, you will also have your own store online and offline. And can you talk about the importance of your own store and how you redirect the audience to your own store to build more salience for your products? So how would you, showcase the benefits of buying from an HP store? What advantages a user could could get. So could you shed some light on that?
Sure. So of course, the partners are very, very relevant to our ecosystem, so they're exceedingly important. I think we partner with them very, very regularly to talk to our consumers because while, Anuj mentioned innovation, all of them have innovation as per a cohort and, an industry, a roadmap. And what they are bringing to the consumer is also based on a lot of research on what the consumer is doing. So when that's a part of us, the comms obviously become superlative because you're able to make claims which are the basis from the heart, right? Like it's the heart of the system. Of course, one thing that I like to say here is that beyond a point, it isn't a differentiator because we all use the same thing. So, you could be a little early to market and for a bit you could use that lag to your advantage. But post that, it's hygiene, right? So if I was to say I have the latest, within 3 or 4 months, Mayuri would agree, we'd have similar stuff. And it wouldn't be because then if you don't have, you're at a disadvantage with your consumers. So the have becomes hygiene really, right? And however their roadmap role obviously make sure that our comms is strengthened when we talk to, our consumer. And to the questions that you asked on, using our own websites and our own portals for, reaching the consumer. I think one is a business aspect, Samir, and one is a, comms-led aspect, right? The business aspect definitely needs a value prop, right? Some brands choose to have it, some brands don't choose to have it because there is a route that the consumer is following, right? Let's say today in technology, we know there is so much comparison and consumers want to be able to do that. Whether you're at retail, you want to go to a large format store, whether you are online, you want to go to an e-commerce platform because you finally want to reach a position where you can compare brands, right? So you have to ask yourself the question, why should somebody come to me over an e-com platform or a large format retail store? So whether you're building a product-led benefit there, a service-led benefit there, or a pricing-led benefit there, that's a business call that you take. When you talk about marketing specifically, what you can do, and because we all know that we are constrained by our partners or our vendors, whatever we choose to call them, in terms of what's the sort of information we can share with our consumer, your own brand-owned assets become important because there's a lot more, and you rightly use the term with some of the panel on content marketing, where you can use your own assets a lot more effectively, right? Because we today know that even when the consumer starts their research and evaluation phase, they currently are not in the mood for an ADI display banner which says, today I'm running a 10% off, please go buy, right? Yeah. See, I think one of the things we haven't done very well is the fact, and I mean the industry ecosystem as a whole, is to understand that consumers are either looking for a solution to their problem, a benefit for their use case. And what they expect from technology is expert advice. And it's a great way, your own assets, whether it's your website or your store, is a great way to establish that with your consumers, right? Because if a gamer comes to me and he asks me the question that, I play Fortnite, I play GTA 5, and I play Valorant, and I want an FPS of XYZ, which system will deliver and which will not? And I will tell him, here's my spec sheet. I haven't really answered the question for the guy, right? He's come to me with a problem to which he wants an answer. He's come to me with a use case for which he wants to see how I can benefit him, to help him make a choice, to help him make the right choice. And we as consumers could relate. Many a times we come out of a store and we say, he didn't try to sell me the most expensive product, right? Now we may say a blog is a content, but so is the spiel that your in-store promoter is giving. Right? So when you're advising, when you're taking that role of being the expert who can decode it for the consumer, that's when consumers really love you, right? And while this problem seems, a really big one for us, once consumers reach the research and evaluation phase, you could use content effectively at any stage of the funnel because, what you are telling your consumers are your strengths, right? Now imagine someone's still not in the funnel, is still at the top of the funnel, and he or she isn't really thinking of buying either a laptop or a phone, and you start telling them, your spec sheet or today you're running a discount, they're not interested, right? So you're telling good, memorable stories, but because I see a lot of young marketers in the audience as well, I'd say tell them where your brand story is clear, right? Because you need to have a role in that story. You know, there are lots of good stories which are told where you were there. And lots of people come back and say, we saw no ROI, right? We used social, bahut kiya, nothing came, right? We weren't able to track anything, right? And today, all marketeers have the pressure of tracking what they're delivering, right? That's not something which will go away anytime soon. That's because it needs consistency. That's because it needs a role for the brand. And, you know, since you specifically mentioned that the brand's the important, this thing here, right? Because if you don't say why you're there, you know, either you're talking about your proposition. So if I talk about our industry, right, whether it's innovative tech, superior tech, latest tech, responsible tech. Spaces are many today in tech. But that space either comes through, your role comes through, your purpose comes through, right? A great example that I like to give from maybe FMCG is Amul. Content done well. They know their TG, they know which sarcasm humor works. They're in every moment. I'm sure they spend a pittance, right? But they're reaching their consumer, but the great part, and I'm sure as consumers you would all probably now look and think about it, there's always utterly butterly delicious reference, either from a frequency, taste, or that butter goes with everything. So you know, if you really want to see even upper funnel output or ROI on content, on strategies where you aren't really doing push, but you want to create a pull for your brand, I think it has to lead from your brand story, understanding your TG, having a role for yourself. In the middle funnel, it's about advisory that you can. And obviously, that's how you also drive the point of sale experience, right? Because especially technology, we've complicated it so much. You know, we've looked at our own content and said, how many people know PCLE, SSD? I've looked at my e-com pages and said, what's he taking away? You wasted one line of Amazon's restricted characters and told my consumer nothing. And he's like, ye sab mein hota hai. It's probably what the guy took away, right? And then finally, he didn't really get to anything where my content has helped him with what he or she is really looking for, right? So I think we must solve for what the consumer is saying. It doesn't matter what format you use. It could be done at the cheapest prices. It doesn't always have to be video. It could be now audio with podcasts picking up a lot. You know, it could be webinars. You don't always have to get the highest expert. You know, sometimes people are like, all our money goes into bringing these guys, right? Bringing the top influencer. One of the important things that I realized with brand assets, people trust big brands, right? When you go to market, you have a responsibility, right? And you can leverage that trust really well. When a company spokesman comes forward, we see consumers really excited. You know, they ask those questions which are very tailored, and they're, you know, as you said, digitally savvy because they're so well informed. They know exactly. So you don't always have to leverage an outsider. An expert could be, you know, a company person who understands that very well, because I think in technology they're looking for that decoding, right? Which we can do for them through content, giving them the right advice, letting them know how tech makes, and you know, we use a taglines very often saying life simpler, life easy, but I think that's what we need to do with some of the stuff that we take from a comms perspective to our consumers. Yeah. Sorry, very detailed answer.
No, I mean, couple of points there. First, for your Valorant player, it is the HP Omen 16 with 144 Hertz refresh rate display, so that solves his problem. Secondly, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that the company representative talking to the audience is very important because the brand has trust. And again, giving Anuj's example is very, very personal because he works so closely with us. Anuj answers all his audience's questions on 91 Mobiles. Like, he's there every month talking to his audience right there with all the digital savvy questions coming in for the chips. So that's one place I think the brands are now very, very cautious and very, very understanding that what they say is taken by their audience, and then more questions come for the next time something happens like that. But moving to Dell now, Dell has had such an interesting portfolio of products, right? And if you look at the market today, or maybe a year or two down, which segment would you say is the right position to get in more consumers to switch to a Dell product? Would you think it's gaming? Would you think it's the student audience, the programming audience, so many engineers coming up? And what would you also talk about the digital savvy audience that's researching to move to buy this device, right? How would you define the fact that they would look for more information rather than just the opening ad on a Times of India. You know, it says Dell laptops and the portfolio, right? They would want more information. So a little more tech-savvy audience. So where do you see new audiences coming in for Dell and the places they would research for more information?
Yeah, so first of all, coming to the where is the audience, right? Where is it going to come from? We have seen that the IDC forecasting how this industry, the good part is that this industry is growing. It's much better than the COVID levels. I think Q3 had the highest shipments ever. That's a record. And for the next 2 years, we see that there is a growth which comes in. This is because mainly that, as we mentioned, that laptop is not just a luxury anymore, it's a necessity. And we see the youth buying the laptops from not only the metros, it's all the smaller cities. We see the growth coming in from the upcountry markets. So if you talk from India perspective, the growth is there all across. That is number one. It is not only for gamers, gaming segment, absolutely it's booming. We have seen the growth, which from, if you look from 2022 till now and where it is going to go to say 2030, we can see where the growth is coming. That is huge, but it is also the student segment who is going and buying it, right? So which means that we need to cater to every requirement which is there in the market, whether it's from an entry level to the high end. Everywhere we should have the portfolio, and because of which we have that particular portfolio. That is number one. Where are they looking for this product? And I think today's, especially when we look at India, I think they are all digitally savvy. Okay, and we were discussing actually behind, I think the kids today know much more, right? It's not about school or college going. I think we spoke about this 2-year-old, okay, how they are, how they play games and they can defeat you in games. I think they have almost learned and come into this particular world, right? So, and one of the examples which I was saying is that we participate in one of the gaming events called Comic-Con, and I was actually surprised where we thought that, you know, 15-year-olds and above play game, and I was absolutely wrong. It was like a group of tiny kids coming and playing and questioning me, saying that, okay, we know the game much better. And I was like surprised, and these are like all 8 years or 9 years old. So one is that the consumers, or even if we talk about, you know, digital native consumers, we know that at least from a search perspective, the search is happening online. So the search is happening, they can come, so we have got Dell.com, and Dell.com is a huge focus for us. Dell.com almost becomes a search engine because you have all the products lined up. They can go, of course, to, we mentioned about, it's not only Google anymore, they can go to Amazon, especially our industry, right? They can go to Amazon, they can go to YouTube and search. That is a good part. They already know, they get the knowledge, what they want to buy. And I think the influencer sector is really booming. And I think it's a good part when we look at how we can also understand the product through the influencers we follow, right? It's not about whom we follow for guidance, but I think the way the product is explained. So, which is good because it's not only before buying the product, I think even after buying the product, you look into the demo and everything, how to set it up for different kind of stuff. So we as a brand, we make sure that we are present all across, right? All across for audience across segments. Also making sure that they have the best customer experience when they buy. So we leave our customers open. They can buy from Dell.com. They can buy from our Dell exclusive stores. They can buy from the multi-brand outlets or the large format outlets. They can buy from Amazon. They can buy from wherever they want. But I think what is most important is that keeping the customer first approach. We need to have the best customer experience. Best customer experience is that when they see the right content, we provide. We need to be there in the right platform where they can look into, and then when they want to buy, they get the right experience. So if you talk from a gaming stores which are there, or the Dell exclusive stores, our major work, and this is not just marketing, this is across functions, whether from the right product, the right specifications, to the training, the trainers all the time, doing regular audits, this becomes a key just because we want the best experience to happen. Or even it can be Amazon, right? So we work very, very closely so that, any customer comes in, we need to give the right information, and so that they make the right decision. So this is how we work on it.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the relationship with Amazon and Flipkart is clearly very important, right? And my final question, now that we're almost out of time, Shivam, is for you, is how would you describe building a successful marketing campaign or a communication campaign with your audience in an era where the relationship with the customer is so closely tied with an e-com platform like Amazon and Flipkart?
Yeah, no, I think you're right, Samir. I mean, in the smartphone industry, if you talk about the industry itself, more than 50% is online in India right now. And as you mentioned, dominated by these two players. So I think it's important to work very closely with these two players to identify what are the key metrics that they define. Because I think both these players work slightly differently. So for example, if you look at Amazon, the entire funnel that Amazon creates is based on GVs and notify me's, for example. If you look at Flipkart, they work on searches. So there are different parameters that these platforms work on, and the entire marketing strategy has to actually focus on addressing those parameters on the respective platforms to be able to achieve the objectives that you want to achieve. Now, the other thing is that there is also a very important component of what you do outside the platform to drive sellout on the platform. I think one of the mistakes that some brands might be doing is that of course, these platforms have their own inherent audiences, their own inherent traffic. But unless the brand creates awareness, consideration for the product, the actual conversion on the platform or the actual traffic on the platform will not happen. So I think what we have seen, at least, and I think the strategy that we follow is, it has to be a brand-led marketing strategy where you start by driving, maximizing reach, awareness, consideration for the product. In the beginning, if you see, you will see a spike in Google searches, right, from a digital audience. That's the best way to gauge if the campaign is working. And then as consumers start moving towards purchase intent, that's where you start seeing a search spike on these platforms. Now, if you're able to achieve that search spike in these different segments of your campaign, I think you're doing the right job. Typically, what we've seen is that video seems to be working very well when it comes to top funnel and driving searches. For the mid funnel, I think, like some of the fellow colleagues have also mentioned, influencers and content marketing is very, very important. Having the right content on saying why the product is best, where it is, not just on the platform, but off platform also, right? Giving them enough avenues. And then the third leg, which is the purchase intent, having the right content on the platform and the consumer is searching the product there, first to ensure that people who are searching, whether they're searching for the product or they're searching for a competition or they're searching for a generic keyword on the platform, you're able to capture them and you're able to address them, take them to your product. And second is give them the information in the most possible, easiest formats on the platform to make their decision easier. So yeah, I think that's what I would like to say. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I guess we're well in time. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we love the intonation and stress on that, well in time.
Yeah,
But
thank
sir,
you so much.
because we are well in time, this is one question directed to all of you. If, and as a brand marketer, you had the ability to control one social media platform for a day, which would that be, and precisely in one line? Why? Starting with you, Anuj sir.
Thank you. So I would certainly Social media is certainly very important for all of us, as we know, and co-members have already talked the significance about marketing, social media. From a tech point of view, yes, I believe today, Instagram is really, really important because one platform, wherein you can just simply, push the right messaging, which is more relevant, the latest messaging, and to reach out to the masses. So I believe Instagram is the one. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Messaging and for the
Information and messaging.
सर मेरे दोनों ही माइक बंद कर दिया ऐसा तो मत करो मैम
It's a very difficult question.
I love the stresses of all of yours.
I don't want to answer this actually. But if I have to answer, is that keeping the youth in mind, right? So I would say Instagram. It's not only because where we are targeting, whom we are targeting right now. And we also see, of course, the results of social media because nowadays it's anything what you do in marketing, it's just not about content and reach anymore. It's all about data marketing and analysis and, checking, where you have the great ROAS coming in, whether it's short term or long term. And we definitely see that. So yeah, in the absence of no choice.
Insta for you too.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be YouTube. And the reason is going to be the video. It's the largest video-led platform. And we see the highest correlation to searches from YouTube. So I think that's one platform that works for us incredibly well. We have seen it work incredibly well. Drives the maximum reach and searches for us. Yeah.
Okay, YouTube you say, ma'am?
Yeah, so I'd also pick YouTube, and my opinion would be because it's entertainment, information, and research. So yeah, I think it's become go-to for so many